Hi, Tom Cole, and welcome into the Steve Taylor Community Connection. Certainly an honor and a privilege to be here with Heather Heilman. Heather from the United Way. Now let me get your title straight. Resource Development Director?
That is correct.
Okay. What does that mean? I mean, give me, what that, that's a nice title. What does it mean?
Yes, it is a great title, and it's actually a great way to learn about my community and the resources that are available for the nonprofits that United Way of Hancock County serves.
Yeah. How long have you been with United Way?
So I've actually been with United Way for 9 years in a lot of different capacities. Started out as a program grant coordinator, writing grants. Actually wrote a grant for a big truck with a refrigeration unit on it. It was one of my first accomplishments, so really excited about that. And then I moved into Community Impact Director, which was really working with all the partner agencies. We have more than 20 partner agencies in Findlay, Hancock County that United Way supports, raises funding for. And then moved into resource development. So I went from really learning about the needs in the community to being able to go out to the community and ask for those dollars to help them do the work that they do, and having that full knowledge of what they do and how they do it well. They really do a great job in our community meeting the needs.
Heather, as you came in, you met our gang here. Heather, China, who does our video work, and Terry Crosby and Nick Marconi and the gang. And we've got the best boss in America. And I'm not saying it because he's sitting in the outer regions here, but I say it whether he's here or not. A phenomenal boss. And Steve has two dealerships in Findlay. And what we were kind of looking at is different types of programs. Steve and his dad are interested in food insecurity. How can we help folks that are food insecure during this pandemic? And
Sure.
What are there things that we could work together and things that we could do?
So sure, let me just kind of give you a little history of food security in Hancock County. That's actually was what pulled me into United Way to begin with. Really just, we were at the economic down cycle, 2009, 10,
Right.
around there. So food security had gone up in Hancock County. About 1 out of every, I believe it was 15 individuals was considered food insecure, meaning they didn't have access to regular meals, healthy meals, couldn't get it in a socially acceptable way, had to go to supplemental places,
Sure.
that kind of thing. Right before the pandemic hit, we were down to 1 out of every 8. So we were doing a lot better in that
You were
sense.
making inroads.
Yeah, making inroads. And we did that by really kind of collaborating, calling all those entities that were serving the food insecure in the community together, because they were serving the same people. So how do you get them in the room together? How do you start talking about strategies so that we can identify what the real needs are that are driving those people to that supplemental food? And then how do we find the resources, because we have other contacts and networks in the community, how do we connect them then to, maybe it was they needed soft skills for jobs, maybe they needed maybe they had a critical kind of situation where they are chronic, where they couldn't really recover from it, but were there other resources available to them that would help solidify or stabilize the household? So we really started looking at it from a holistic view instead of just siloed, Salvation Army doing their food pantry and Schopenhall doing theirs.
Right.
We really pulled everybody together in. We also pulled in corporate leadership like Marathon, City of Findlay as well, different people, to get that cross-sector look at what were the reasons food insecurity was happening in Hancock County. And so we still have that approach now, even with COVID. But the great thing with COVID and with that past history and working along with all those food insecure organizations for 8 or 9 years, was that we were able to pull them together quickly. We had relationships built, and we were able to identify right away with COVID. The biggest concern was, how are the kids who are on free and reduced lunches going to be able to eat when they rely on those meals at school and the supplemental meals that we provide through some of our programs on the weekend.
Steve Taylor's doing that here. Terry Crosby and I work he allows us to work in the community, and we're privileged to do that. We're feeding Sylvania area kids,
Sure.
When the schools are shut, and the Springfield area schools and kids with
There's
the
some great
lunches.
programs
And it's good, and it really helps out. But last thing I'll ask you, Heather, is there breaking through a pride factor there? I would think that it might be tough for some people who
Right.
have worked regular jobs, have paid their bills, have done everything right, and through no fault of their own, suddenly because of COVID, they're out of a job, they've been displaced, they don't have any income, they have kids that they have to look at every day where's the food, where's the dinner? Is pride a difficult thing to maneuver?
Oh yeah, it's a pride thing, absolutely. Especially if you've been worse, if you're raised in that kind of middle class, hardworking, gotta have a job kind of thing. Looking for supplemental food, or even coming to the place where you realize you need it, or you're going to lose. You're not going to be able to make your house payment, or you're going to lose your car payment. Those kinds of things. That is a huge pride factor. It's hard to overcome that. and again, in the older generation even too, that's one that we see a lot too. But with COVID, we've seen in June, and I think I shared some of those stats with you, 60% of the people that came to our largest food drive that month had never been to a supplemental food pantry before. And 80% of those going to our homeless shelter programming had never been a client of that program before. So you're seeing a lot of people, I think sometimes there's a comfort in numbers.
Yes.
You know, we realize that this situation is not that standard. You're just being lazy, you're not working hard.
Right.
This is, when you're told to stay home, things look a little different.
Yeah.
But it's still scary. It's not comfortable. Nobody likes to say, I need to go find another way to make ends meet for my family.
Right.
So I will say that our executive directors, Christian Clearinghouse, Salvation Army, Schopenhall, a lot of them are very good at working with the clients that are new coming in. We've got great volunteers. We usually get to interview them, one-on-one. And learn about their situation directly so that it's not so impersonal, but a little more personal. And again, with that knowledge of, we know what the resources out here, so what can we connect you to that's going to help elevate you? You're coming in here at a down point, but maybe we can get you out of here and out of this need faster than you anticipated. So yeah, definitely an issue when you're dealing with this. I think everybody's a little scared too.
Yeah. H Squared, you're a tremendously talented lady, and we really appreciate you being here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand off a local legend here in town, my community partner, Mr. Terry Crosby, and you are in good hands.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Heather.
Welcome to Perrysburg, Ohio.
Thank you.
We're really glad you're here with us. You're from United Way. Can you just tell us your title once again?
Sure, absolutely. I am Resource Development Director with United Way of Hancock County that serves the Findlay and Hancock County area.
Okay. Now, you were just speaking about food insecurity.
Yes.
Yeah, we understand it. But as we know, there's maybe some other concerns that you have for the community of Findlay, what you would like to see improvement in. So can you just touch base maybe a little bit away from the food insecurity and tell us some of your other concerns?
Thank you, Terry. I'd love to do that. Absolutely. This pandemic has been unprecedented. The way we did business before doesn't look the same right now. And we definitely have some concerns, and United Way Worldwide really helps us get some directives and helps us kind of clarify even what we do locally. So we really kind of took some of their strategy to heart. That first response is meet the immediate needs. What are the immediate needs? We talked about that, food security, some housing, making sure people stay housed, utilities stay on. But then it's about how do you get people back into the workforce? What's that going to look like? So what do you have in place? So now we're talking about childcare. Is there childcare? We talked to some of the manufacturers in Hancock County who, have line issues. They can't keep people on line. You come in with a fever and you're out for who knows how long. So how do you keep that production line going? And how do you keep people coming in and out? And then schools getting back to school, childcare, hybrid classrooms. So, we're really seeing a need for how do we get the structures in place to make sure that people can get back to work in a safe environment, in a safe way, and kind of get chugging back and getting their regular routine back, if you will. I don't think it's ever going to look the same, right? But it's going to definitely to be stabilized so that we can really continue to be a community that makes a difference and has an improved quality of life for everybody in Hancock County.
Yeah. Well, I really, really appreciate it. Those were great answers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, we all know the COVID-19 has had an impact on all of us.
Yes.
In so many different varying ways.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously COVID-19 it's been a change for everybody.
Yeah.
And even personally for me, it's been my toughest year of my life. Just trying to cope with some of the circumstances, some of the restrictions, some of the things that I worry about, because I'm not trying to get sick.
No, right.
And leave this earth, okay? So, COVID-19 has been a challenge for most of us. So how has your organization, United Way, how have you adapted to the change that COVID-19 has?
Sure. So, right away, all of our nonprofits had to start looking at how do we serve our clients like we normally do, right? Cancer Patient Services is a great one to, they have clients that have real immune issues going on right now. So how do they serve them? And they've really adapted a drop-off service where the clients are able to call in. We have a tool in Hancock County called Charity Tracker, and a lot of our nonprofits are using it. And if you're a client at one organization, you can kind of be tracked, but in a private way. And what that tells us then is that, you know, we can tell where the needs kind of are popping up. We can pull aggregate data. We can start learning about, you know, where are the pockets of needs popping up. And anyway, Cancer Patient Services uses that charity tracker to communicate really well with their clients in a private and secure way. They were able to start delivering, you know, nutritional supplements. If they had to help with insurance claims, those types of things, they've been able to do that virtually. So yeah, everybody immediately started going virtually, right? You lose it, you miss that, right?
Yes,
If you're like
yes.
me, I like people, I like to
Right.
be around people, I'm not going, but you're concerned for
And it's
their
so
health.
different.
Oh, it's so different, right?
Yes, yeah.
The elbow bumps and the, you know, I'm sorry, am I in your space? You know, you got to adjust to all those the nuances. So, so a lot of our programs are going virtual, and one of the things United Way is going to do, and has already started that conversation with their nonprofits. They're in their grant cycle right now. They're writing their grants, so we're not going to bother with them right now.
Right.
But is that whole reimagining the system? So what did we learn from this? How did we do business differently, and what were the, you know, the challenges? You know, doing that whole SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and the threats. Right? What did we learn, and how can we adapt that going forward? I think that some of our organizations have learned some real improved ways to do business,
Right.
and they're going to continue to do that. But when you lose that element of that face-to-face, for me
Yes.
personally, especially working with on resource development side too, working with the corporations to learn about what they do and how can we work together. That's hard to do it virtually.
And it's the same in our job.
Yeah.
Myself and Tom Cole's job,
Yeah.
we pretty much do the same.
Yeah.
We're community ambassadors, and you don't have that personal contact.
Right, I don't want to
So
call you. I
it's-
want to get in front of you. I want to
Yes,
talk to you.
it's a big adjustment. It's
Yeah.
not a small adjustment.
Yeah,
okay?
big.
So I fully understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
But listen, it's been great to talk to you. Come
You
back
as
and
well.
come back and see us again.
I would love to.
I'm going to now introduce. He is Mr. Steve Taylor, and he is going to speak to you next.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Steve Taylor here with our Steve Taylor Community Connection. I'm here with Heather
Yes.
from the Hancock County United Way, and we all know about the United Way, right?
Mhm.
United Way has been around for a long time. They do fantastic things in all sorts of communities. Tell us a little bit. You've already shared with Tom and Terry some of the things that you've done during COVID-19
Sure.
and for food insecurities. But tell us maybe some things that the folks don't know about United Way, some of the
Sure.
good things that are going on that maybe are more behind the scenes or might not be out in front, but there's still fantastic things that are going on every single day in Hancock County.
Absolutely. So, you know, a lot of people think of United Way in a couple different ways, actually. We are that fundraiser for a community, right? We go out, really try and drive that support for nonprofits, because most nonprofits are either overworked, understaffed, you know, and they're trying to do what they can. So we come in just to be the extra hitter for them, make sure that, you know, maybe it's $150,000 we get. That's a huge for a nonprofit in our community to have that type of support. So we do it in a very coordinated effort, going out. Workplace campaigns are always the place. I joke about that response because my dad was, you know, in the workforce, and I remember him, oh, United Way, it's the United Way campaign, they're gonna ask for my money, you know, and it's like, but he gave, he always gave.
Sure.
So the other thing that I don't think people realize is that we're conveners. We really, and I'll give you a really great example. COVID is probably one of the most recent and best examples of how that works. You know, we go and ask for money, but our executive director, our staff is out also learning about the needs of community and looking for solutions. We're also networking and building relationships, and we were very fortunate this year to have Randy Galbraith with Job and Family Services in Hancock County accept an invitation to join our board. Timing couldn't have been better. With that, we were able then, when COVID hit and everybody was going home, we were able to immediately connect with him and other funders in our community to say, listen, we know we're going to be impacted. We know that there's going to be a lot of requests coming down the line. We need to be effective, we need to be informed, and we need to be efficient on how we respond. So with Randy on board, we were able to learn immediately from the state level what kind of opportunities were coming into the community. We organized a Zoom conference with over 40 nonprofits in our community. We have over 300 nonprofits, so over 40 nonprofits in our community joined in on that. So some of them not even partner agencies with United Way, just to learn about the different programs that if you got a client coming in, save your donor dollars. Direct them to Job and Family Services first to find out if they qualify and if their need can be met there. Because those dollars, if they're not used at the state level, they get sent back and they get sent somewhere else. So strategy right there. People don't realize what that strategy did for our community. And those are those quiet things we don't come out and say, hey, we had a great meeting and they learned about resources and your dollars are gonna go down. How do you explain that to somebody?
But so impactful.
So impactful in a
Yeah,
very
for
huge
sure.
way that our nonprofits are now in a position going into the fall when all these moratoriums for rental assistance and the lack of the unemployment is kind of tapering out. We were concerned about this time of year. Well, our nonprofits are still very well stocked in a sense to make it through this hump, and again trying to get into next year. So those strategies are the things that we deploy that people don't get to see. We also work with local funders like the Community Foundation in Hancock County and University of Findlay. I mean, just a lot of different funders to pull them together to say, there's going to be a long-term impact. How are we going to pace ourselves and how are we going to work together? Because you don't want to be looked at as that funder that's just being cheap. They didn't want to give to this. Well, maybe there's a strategy that we all need together. And when we develop that strategy, we need to encourage each other and recognize the good work they're doing, and instead of like jabbing and saying, well, they should have given to that, we can give to it. So we've really got a great community of leaders there that are willing to be humble enough to come into a room together and talk about how can we work together to make the biggest difference for Hancock County.
Yeah, that's
So
fantastic.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
One of the other things, I think people might have a misconception, United Way is a national organization, and sometimes you hear that, well, the dollars don't stay local.
Yeah.
And I think, just by talking to you and listening to you talk to Tom and Terry, there are so many things that are happening locally in Hancock County where the dollars stay right in Hancock County.
Sure.
So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So United Way is very confusing to a lot of people, right? Because there's United Way Worldwide, there's United Way in Lucas County, there's all these different United Ways. Well, United Ways are really a reflection of each community. We buy in, we do pay like a 1% fee to be part of United Way Worldwide, to be part of that branding, to get a lot of that great information that they send down the line. But it really is a reflection of your community. So the programs that you see funded in Hancock County are gonna look different than the ones that you see in Toledo and Lucas County, right? Because the needs are different. Your landscape's different, your resources are different, everything's different. So based on that, all the decisions and the things that are made there really revolve around Hancock County, and that money that's raised in Hancock County will stay and remain for those programs in Hancock County.
That's great.
Yeah, so same with Lucas, right?
For sure, yep. So we've been part of the Hancock County and Findlay community for about 10 years. And
Yes.
it's a fantastic community. I mean, it's so close-knit.
It is very close now.
There's been some things we've done throughout the years where you hear about some family in need or somebody that needs some help, and it's unbelievable to see from my position how our employees band together and say, hey, we need to raise some funds for this person, or we need to help out in this area.
Yeah.
So we're so fortunate to be down in the Findlay area. We love it down there. We'd like to get involved more with United Way, and
Sure.
I know people that are watching would like to say, how can we get involved too? So are there some things that you can tell the viewers and say, here's some ways that you can help in the community and
Sure.
in United Way?
So we have 3 words: give, advocate, volunteer. Those are kind of driver forces there. So giving is obviously a great way to give. We evaluate our programs and our organizations to make sure that they're in proper standing with GAP policies and procedures, all those kinds of things. But then volunteering, we just reinstated our volunteer coordination center.
Okay.
And it's really a part-time employee, Sarah Miley, who does that for us. And she started the week before we had the shutdown.
Yeah.
That was, and so she has had to do everything remote from
Wow.
from the beginning. She's logged in more than 9,000 volunteer hours in a
goodness.
terrain that has been almost impossible to volunteer in because of the masking and the PPE and the social distancing. So hats off to Sarah. She's done an outstanding
Great
job
job.
as a volunteer coordinator there. And then advocating, of course, getting involved, advocating for issues in your community that you are passionate about. There's ways to get involved, and we have really great connections with our Center for Civic Engagement, which is also an organization that we fund that really does a lot of work with advocating and surrounding issues in our community. So yeah, give, advocate, volunteer. Those are 3 great things to remember in terms of getting involved with United
Makes
Way.
it simple. Right?
Yeah, really does.
Well, thank you,
Always
very,
about the 3.
thank you very much for being on the show today. It's fantastic. Our main goal of these shows is to raise awareness for people like you that are doing good things in the community, but also organizations that are really making a positive impact in our community.
Well, we appreciate it.
So thank you very much for making
Thank
the
you
trip
very
up from
much.
Findlay. Glad to have you here, and we're glad to help. So
Thank you so much.
looking
Steve.
forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing big things with your campaign too.
Thank you, me too.
Thanks
All
for
right,
tuning in to another Steve Taylor Community Connection. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.